The Techthusiasm home theater Class D amp migration is about to be completed with not just one, but two NAD M28 Master Series amplifiers. They're here. They came in thanks to Dan DiCarlo, my friend at Audiovision, for facilitating the purchase of these amplifiers. The Parasounds have been sold. The A31 picked up. The A52s shipped off together to a new owner, and we're ready to go all Class D. After these are in, every amplifier in the system actually now will be Class D based. I've already unboxed one actually and put it in, but in this video we're going to take a look, open this one up, take a look at this stellar NAD Master Series packaging, take a look at the amplifier, and I'll talk a little bit more about my ideas, my goals, and intent, and all of that behind going this route for the home theater. What I expect to get out of it, why you might want to consider an amplifier of this type, of this caliber, of this brand, and of this class. So let's dive in. First of all, NAD Master Series amps come double boxed. Very, very nice right off the bat. Super protected. I'm going to set this down and pull out the interior box. So this one, a good bit heavier than the M23. I had just received that, a week and a half or so ago. Check out the videos if you're interested in the 2-channel version. But we have this nice printed black box here, M28, wrapped in plastic. I'm going to cut this off. Here we go. And again, I think they have some of the most protective packaging I've seen for a device like this. So we've got the amplifier sandwich going on, this big cardboard paper type of clamshell packaging. We've got nice strong pillar type L-shaped support in the corners. The amp itself is in a really nice black cloth bag. A couple extra things versus the M23 here. Little extra documentation. We've got cleaning instructions and a cleaning cloth. We actually get a grounding cable, a couple of spade plug grounding cable with an extra important notice. This was not in the M23, but an extra notice basically saying if you're not connecting on a grounded outlet, you probably want to ground with that cable to your preamplifier. And we have our same floating magnetized disc feet. So I'm going to close this back up. I will not be using the ground plug there because I am on all grounded outlets. And then just for the sake of completeness, we have one more box here which contains our power plugs, power cords, nice heavy duty, again 3-prong power cable. I am just going to use these versus like buying or having a separate power plug. There is a protection slip-on for the plug piece itself. Good length, heavy duty, nice and sturdy. You do get a US power plug and a European in the box as well. There was a different fuse I noticed when I opened up the first one. It was in here, maybe on the other side. So I guess if you're not sure if that's an extra fuse, but I guess be advised, if you're outside the US, they specifically put an included fuse in the box with the non-North American power cord. So you may need to be paying attention to that. Maybe you need to change the fuse on the unit. Better view here of the main event, the big show. Untie the bag. Talk about unwrapping Christmas presents early. Now this one's a little bit heavier. I don't remember the actual weight on this, but definitely heavier than the M23. Dimensions are actually bigger than the M23 as well. Sits taller in the rack. Let's take a look at the front first. Just amazing. I love the look of this thing. I love the style. I think the silver and black coloring motif just looks absolutely fantastic. high-end looking electronics inside there, meshed openings in this 3x4 pattern. Again, I just think it looks fantastic. You can see that the modules in there, Purify Class D modules, 200 watts of channel into 8 ohms. Very simple front facade, just NAD logo there. It does light up. Orange when it's off, white when it's on. The power button is actually on the top. Just clean, absolutely clean. Around the sides, we've got some venting, air venting. Let's take a look around the back. Thing just screams high end. Again, 7 channels across the board and those kind of vertically stacked purified modules. We do have RCA input and XLR input with an individual selector switch before them. I'm going to turn them all to XLR. It's what I'll be using, what I would recommend, of course. I do like on amplifiers where the RCA XLR selection is actually discrete per amplifier module, and there's not just one switch for the whole unit. I have had certain moments in the past of my system where I've actually wanted to run some amp channels on RCA and some on XLR, so that's nice for flexibility. Really high-end connectors back here, really beefy binding post, gold inside, encased in plastic. One big difference from the M23 to the 28 is there's no selectable gain, no adjustable gain. That's okay. We got a power switch, we got our fuse, power plug, grounding connection there. It's a little loose, I'll screw that in tight. LED level control for brightness adjustment, and then one 12-volt trigger input. I'll make the same gripe that I made with the M23 when we're talking about something that's high end, and only in this case a 7-channel, meaning in a home theater application with a lot of speaker positionings we may need more than one of these. I'm running 2. We should always have a 12-volt loop output, trigger output, in addition to just having an input, so that we can daisy chain multiple amps in their power state. Man, just awesome. All in all, just screaming high end. All the aesthetics, all the coloring motif extends to the bottom. Real high-end pointed disc feet here. And again, we've got these magnet clip-on isolation little puck feet. So when we flip it over and set it in the rack, no rack mounts. No rack mounts and stuff for this. Just be setting it really just nicely on a shelf, which is fine with me. I'm completely okay with that. So let's talk about this for a second. Why did I buy this? How am I going to be using it, and all of that? So I did buy these as a pair. 14 channels total of amplification for the home theater. In my room right now, of course, I have a 7.4.4 setup. I'm only 11 speakers. So I will have a little extra amplification, 3 extra channels, so to speak. I'm okay with that. That gives me a little bit of flexibility for the future. I probably don't see myself adding any extra pair of side surrounds, probably not an extra pair of overheads. If I were to do anything in the room, I may be able to squeeze a pair of wides on the side walls, kind of angled towards the seat a little bit. So if I do ever do that, I've got some flexibility to be able to use this for that. In addition, if I do end up, because of the channel, having some extra speakers, floor standing speakers or something come through my hands, I would be able to easily then set them up in the theater, connect them to the extra 2 amplifier channels, keep all my wiring and stuff fairly consistent. So I don't mind having a little bit of extra power there. If anything, it probably will end up wanting to drive me to consider putting in wides sooner than potentially later. I'll have to measure up and see if I can actually fit them in. I think another legit question that I see that folks may ask, and a point of conversation about how I'm doing this, that I've definitely seen referenced in other discussions and content and conversations and whatnot, is the idea of, like, aren't you overkilling your theater? Seriously, you're using all these channels, even for your Atmos channels and your surround channels, your rear surrounds. Like, those are, you know, some of the most unneeded for this level of quality and amplification that we have in home theater. And to that I say, I just wanted to do it like this. I have a preference to a certain level of consistency in my system, keeping elements of my system at a kind of a certain level of parallelism. Yeah, I could have gone for something else less expensive for sure, saved a little bit of money, a higher value perhaps purchase in that regard, not necessarily Purify modules, but something from one of the other Class D amplifier makers, of course. And honestly, I just didn't want to do it that way for a couple of reasons. One is just that flat out desire. I want to look at my rack. To me, it completes my system. I like looking at it, seeing two of these same things in there, knowing that my system is like at a certain level of quality and capability. I've got the M23 for the living room. Now I've got the pair of M28s for the theater. And even though, yeah, I mean, I will be driving surrounds and overhead Atmos speakers with this type of an amplifier, my entire room is still based on Focal 1000 series. It's beryllium tweeters. They're similar mid-range drivers and all of that. So they're very nice speakers. I think it's okay to put them on very nice amplification. And all of the speakers, again, are consistent with each other in the 1000 series line. Similar materials, similar drivers. And for that sake of consistency, to me, I just want them all to be on the same amplification as well. Let alone the fact, I think, that as we go forward, possibly here into 2024, my goal for the room was not to stop necessarily at the speakers as they are right now. There are upgrades available in the Focal 1000 series lineup, assuming that I stay on brand for Focal. I bought what I bought with the IW LCR6s, with the IW6s for the surrounds, and the ICW6s for the overheads above, with the thought or an expectation that I'd like to migrate, in time I would migrate that room forward and step up in the line, meaning I would look to something like the Utopia speakers behind the screen. And if I were to buy 3 Utopia speakers, I would have 3 IW LCR6s. Well, I could buy one more IW LCR6 and take out the smaller IW6s for the surrounds and put the bigger in walls in those locations. And then if I have 4 IW6s left over out of the walls, hey, why not take the smaller round overheads, the ICW6s, and go ahead and put the IW6s in the ceiling. And then from there, who's to say that I wouldn't even migrate more of the bed layer to Utopias? I mean, in the long run, why not just run a complete bed layer of Utopias? I mean, if I had the money for it, that's just certainly what I would have bought day one to begin with. And so if I think forward to that type of like migrational upgrade evolution of the speaker progression in my room, I'll be happy later introducing up model speakers that I have these amplifiers here today. So to me, this is like a purchase that I don't see leaving the system for a long time to come. I mean, literally, in many cases, what would I want to even replace it with? Possibly an M28 V2 or something that runs a different or a next generation Purify module. But that amongst all the things that I could buy down the road, I just couldn't imagine that would be one of the biggest draws to spend money on when there's other more tangible things to do with that money. This sets my system now at a floor level of audio processing with the AVM90 and amplification with these dual M28s that now this is set. I'm good. I'm like basically end game level here. And so I can move on to kind of other things, getting other elements of the room, focusing a little bit more perhaps on the video side. But again, I would like to start making that speaker migration perhaps into 2024. So it may not be that far into the future, as it could be, depending on how things go and channel growth and channel revenue and all of that sort of thing. In addition, maybe I even take a U-turn on the speaker choice, and who knows, maybe I'm running a whole room of Perlis in walls or something in there. No matter what, I think I'm going to be at a level of speaker where the speakers themselves, regardless of brand, are going to be high-end, capable, high-quality speakers. And again, I will be completely happy having established the floor of my system, all of the amplification, uniform and consistent at this level of gear. When I bought the Parasounds, I did do the kind of upper-lower step. I had the A31 amplifying my LCRs, and I had the A52 pluses. amplifying everything else. And to be quite honest, of course, I don't think my experience having done it that way was the best. I'm very, very much, I think, happier, again, with everything being the same at a higher level, all at this level together. So next up, I'll be installing these in the rack. I may have to buy a couple slightly different lengths of XLR cables because the length from the preamp to the amplifier positions in the rack will be slightly different than the Parasounds. I think what I have in there, everything should reach. But when it comes to installing, the other thing that I want to do with the installation, given I have two of these, how I usually tend to do things is I'll put all my left channel speakers on one amplifier, and I'll put all my right channel speakers on the other amplifier. Usually the upper one will be my left, the lower one will be my right. So that'll be 5 speakers on each amplifier, and then just throw the center channel essentially on one or the other. So I probably will be picking up just a couple of extra little 1.5 or 2 foot XLR cables to finish that out and really kind of lock everything down. And then onward from there, of course, turn them on, break them in a little bit, let them run, open them up, and then be redoing Arc Genesis, because changing amplifiers, I think, is one of those things that would want to precipitate doing a remeasurement, getting all of the room adjustment, EQ, and audio processing set using these as well. So sound off in the comments. Let me know what else I can tell you about the M28s. Of course, stay tuned to the channel. In future content, future videos, future live stream podcast discussions, I'll definitely be talking about my take on these overall, like sonically, listening to them, performance, and all of those types of characteristics to come. Otherwise, please do all that regular YouTube stuff, like, subscribe, hit the bell, share the video. And hey, if you'd like to support the channel, consider shopping with my affiliates. If you would like to buy some NAD gear, any of it, Master Series or anything, I can get you a referral to my friend Dan DeCarlo. You can shop through the affiliate links down below at Audio Advice, or make sure to mention Techthusiasm over the phone. And if you're looking for a piece of gear, reach out to me. Reach out to me through the channel, Techthusiasm_JP@outlook.com, and let me know what you're looking for. I can hook you up with some folks and make sure that we get you an awesome Techthusiasm deal. Here we go. This is going to be a fun morning putting these things in. Thanks so much for watching. Come on back for more home theater discussion and fun.